What's up, everybody? It's LittleBobby here with 59 Direct, and I'm here with the man Lethal. What up? He's joined us here to talk about the Xbox showcase. Xbox came out swinging today. What are your initial thoughts, Lethal? What do you think about this showcase that we saw?
Dude, Xbox definitely, in my opinion, Xbox definitely came out and showed up. My biggest thing I think I went into the showcase with was, honestly, I mean, with past Xbox showcases, not expecting the most. Definitely had the bar set. I think that might be the thing too, Bobby. My bar was set incredibly low. So I think that's why I'm so like I'm hyped after. Like I'm actually like really pumped at like after the showcase is the fact that like my bar was set so low to the point where I was like, listen, you just show me like I think that's why I kept tweeting. My tweet today was like, just show me a Fable update, I think, and that'd be like a really big surprise. And like I'm good with that. Like to be honest,
you showed me so three games.
Yeah, not even, Bobby.
Just
I said, Bobby, just show me one. Just show me one. Show me one that wasn't Starfield, because like I'm pretty sure like Starfield was definitely gonna have to come out this year. Like they definitely had to have it come out. But I was like, just give me one surprise, other like, you know, first party game, and that would be good. But in my opinion, they not only did that, but they fired off on a lot of cylinders from a lot of their first party studios, which is a really good thing to see. Yes. Now, there's some questions on some of that stuff, which we're going to obviously get into. But for me, this was an excellent showcase. Like really good for Xbox. This is probably one of the better ones they've had in, I don't know, God knows how long. In years, Bobby. In years.
I agree with that. I would say that probably in about a decade, this is the best I've seen Xbox do to come out and go like, hey, here's what we're doing and here's what you can expect to see, and like show just game after game after game after game after game. Obviously, you know, you're gonna have like the PlayStation fans go, well, a lot of it was third party like Sony. It's like, yeah, of course. Like any showcase is going to have third party. If you're out there and you're expecting a showcase to be all first party, even Microsoft with their billions and trillions of dollars could not make that happen. There is no way to make that happen. That just requires too much work. But we did see some awesome stuff and some huge updates, especially on stuff that we had been waiting to see. And you mentioned Fable, and they kicked it off with that with Richard Ayoade. Right? Is that how you say it?
Probably.
I want to say it.
We'll go
Richard
with it.
Ayoade.
We'll go with it.
That guy's brilliant. I love him so much. And just seeing him. Now, this was an in-engine footage, right? Is what they said?
I think so, yeah. So everything, for the most part, was supposed to be pretty much like in-engine, in-game, something like that.
Yeah, everything
that was like sort of the Aaron Greenberg kind of promise. So for the most part, keep that in mind.
Yeah, so they came out and with this, and it obviously shows that they're taking Fable with the same kind of, you know, the same kind of campy humor that they had back in the day, which is great. And it just seems like it's gonna be fun, which is like, to me, like Fable's just kind of like fantasy RPG, funny, goofy time. Like, and you give me that, and I'm good with Fable. Like, I was super happy to see that. Playground, you know, if they nail the gameplay, and it's hard because it was in-engine footage, but we didn't see much that we could clearly go, hey, yeah, that's definitely gameplay. Right. But if they can nail it, because they're coming from the racing background, it's going to be a tough sell. But if they can nail it, I think this Fable's going to knock it out of the park. It looks awesome.
Yeah, Bobby pretty much said exactly what I was thinking. I mean, like, I mean, we were even talking about this beforehand too. You know, I was saying how like there was a lot of, I remember in the last like year or two, there's just been a lot of like, you know, little stuff coming out about like Playground games and how like they were having some trouble with the game. I think they were like having trouble like nailing down like the combat and stuff like that. I remember like some key terms were like, this was something that was like out of their wheelhouse, right? This is like straight up new for that studio. So I know for me, I was like, when we got that first little CG, like little cool trailer teaser opening thing that we got from the first time, I was like, okay, this looks kind of promising. So this one for me was like, if we were actually going to get anything Fable, like I'm curious to see what it would kind of look like, or what would be the angle that they're going for. Are they going to make sure it stays, you know, true to the past Fable games? And like you said, Bobby, like, I mean, pretty much it felt like that, right? It had the humor of it. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the fact that it had that bit of humor to it. And it kept to the fact that like, you know, it has like the whole fantasy Fable stuff. I mean, I think that was pretty much a play, like in this trailer was kind of a play on like Jack and the Beanstalk. Is that what it is? That doesn't sound right. Is that what it was? Jack and the Beanstalk? Okay, like, yeah. I wasn't sure if that was the actual fairy tale now, but I think it's called Jack and the Beanstalk or whatever. So, but yeah, it was pretty much like a take on that, and I kind of really liked that. It was pretty funny. They show little like, you kind of things about what the combat might kind of look like, right? I mean, it wasn't a straight up just gameplay trailer or anything, but it had a little like those tidbits in it. I honestly, dude, for me, this was like their opener to their showcase, and that took me by surprise. I was like, wow, if this is their opening, I would love to see what else they have in the show, because I thought this would be the one that's like, if we're going to get something, it would be super minuscule. It might just be a very just straight up small little CGI trailer or something or whatever. But the fact this was an opener for me, like, kind of made me feel like, oh snap, like Xbox might have some shit to show. Like this is going to be pretty crazy if this was their opener. That's how I looked at it.
It was great for them to come out, because again, like, they came out swinging with it, right? Like you see this and it looks great. Like it looks so good. And then seeing them going, like, what was like a 4-minute trailer or something. Yeah. It was pretty long.
It's pretty lengthy, yeah.
And they just opened the show with that, and it's something very strong that it seems like they're confident in. The only thing, and we did talk about this, like no pure gameplay, and on this one, like no window, right? We didn't even get a release window on this, and that's a bummer. And I know we talked about it a little before we started recording, but right, we're thinking like 2025 probably.
Yeah, especially like, after all the news from before. I mean, like, there's people who are, me and Bob were talking about before, but there's people who are just like, no release window. Like, how crazy is that? I'm like, dude, did you really think this game, after all the development hell that it sounded like it was going through, like, did you really think it was going to come out like next year or something? Like, this game, I don't plan to see this for like Bobby just said, like 2025 maybe. Yeah, I imagine around there, maybe.
Even on Twitter recently, I've seen people working on the game going like, hey, we're looking for like a senior story, like senior
I'm not
story,
surprised.
A lead story person, right? I'm like, like the lead story, that's kind of an important job. But that being said, it looks like they have a good grasp on what the game is going to be. And that's what's important. Like, Xbox has lacked that creative vision and that sight. Right, that we've talked about, like how Sony's advantage is that they, and Nintendo too, like they get the idea and they just laser focus on it. And Xbox seems like they're like just scattershot, like what can we do? And now it seems like, at least with this, they're opening with a strong, like, hey, this is the identity of this game, this is what we're going for. So even if they're looking for people, at least hopefully they now go, this is our idea, and this is what's going to happen with Fable.
I mean, hey, what I saw, I had like, it definitely made me feel more confident on it and more excited for it. So I definitely walked away with like, yo, Fable, I think is coming back. That's a good thing.
I agree. I think that if this goes well, this franchise comes back in a strong way. Like, I can't see them ditching it, especially with how well, even just the rumor that, hey, and the little like teaser they did last week, how much, that turned on the audience going like, oh my God, even me, I was like, oh, it's Fable? That looks like Fable. Like, and that was like, that brings me back to the 360 days, right? Like that's what a lot of people want out of Xbox. Like, stop going down this weird road. Anyway, next up is South of Midnight. Compulsion Games, right? And this is the one that had the weird, like, guitar player guy, very gothic, like southern, like deep southern, dirty American, like, it's gross, and I loved it.
It had that super cool freaking is it called like claymation, like stop motion claymation style?
Yes,
like, if you ever watched like Coraline and stuff like that, like it had like that kind of style to it. And I was like, dude. Like, for me, I'm a sucker for that. I think also like the new Pinocchio movie, I think, if I'm not mistaken, also had something similar.
Yeah.
So like I was, so I was sold on that right away because I'm a sucker for that. But it just looked super interesting. Like it just caught me right away. I mean, that's what I want to see. Like that to me, I'm not too familiar with the studio of Compulsion Games. I know they've had like I've seen, I think, is it Happy We Few or something like that? I can't remember exactly.
We Happy Few?
Yeah, We Happy Few. So like, I'm familiar with the games. I never played them, but this might be my first one into the studio because it caught my attention again, just from like the art style alone. But it had a cool thing too. I mean, the singing was pretty cool from the guy, but also like whatever the female protagonist, who I'm assuming is like the protagonist, whatever she was doing with like, for like powers wise, but the dreidel thing, and then like it pulled out like a weave of like, I don't know, powers to some degree, dude. It looked sick. And I was sold. I was like, this is a reveal of a brand new game from that studio. and it looks good. I'm like, it looks good. Sold me. Again, this is the second game in, and I was like, all right, you got me. You guys got me hooked, and now I'm really curious to see what else you have to show. Because I was like, man, this might be the best two things we see throughout this entire showcase. But I was kind of wrong. But that's how I felt about it at the time.
Yeah, and these times where like, you know, it's like you mentioned, like you see it and you do like the art style just ticks something in your brain.
Oh yeah, man.
And it makes you go like, oh, I want to see that, right? And it's just like you said, oh, it's got that stop motion look. And I'm like, I've got the trailer going right now as we're talking, and I'm looking at it again, and it's gorgeous. It is very much.
It's so good.
It is like Coraline. It looks like Coraline, right? But even like darker and grittier. And that art style to me is really cool as well. And I'm really excited to see what this game is all about. I'm a sucker too for like an art style. An art style will absolutely just sell me on a game.
Oh, dude, right? Every time. For me, it might not have the best gameplay, but if it's a dope art style, man, I'm in. You've sold me if it looks good.
And that's like when we talked about Elden Ring last year, you know, one of my critiques on Elden Ring, I was like, man, the graphics on Elden Ring are like a 7 out of 10, but that art style is like an 11 out of 10. Right. So it kind of makes up for it. Like the art style in Elden Ring is so good that the fact that it's like kind of like mid-level PS4 graphics is like, okay, you know, who cares? Because the art style is like so amazing, right? And more recently, like Ragnarok, right, last year, like, oh, the art style in that was just killer. That new God of War, right, where it's really grounded, except for the things that are really fantastical, right, like the axe like glows and the blades, like the fire that's like trapped in the blades, just like that kind of stuff is really awesome. So yeah, the South of Midnight is looking really great. And then next up was Star Wars Outlaws, which is by Massive. I'm a huge fan of Massive. I played the Division 1, Division 2. Division 2 Year 5 just came out, and I'm gonna check that out, and we might do a video on that. Me, not Lethal. I doubt Lethal will be into the Division 2. Did you?
I played it, but I don't think I got into it. Yeah, I played Division 1 and I played Division 2.
Yeah, it's like Division 2 was like the end game was kind of the issue, whereas the Division 1, it was like everything going up to the end game was the issue. So, but Massive, I still love Massive, and I've been meaning to check it out because they just had that Year 5 like breakdown, and I was like, some of that stuff looks pretty good, and I haven't kept up in the Division a couple years, but now they're doing Star Wars Outlaws. This was another cinematic trailer where we see, just like it's CGI, right? But it's kind of setting us up in this world, and it's an open world Star Wars game. It looks like you could be like a smuggler, right? And she's just going through living that Han Solo life. Yeah. And I'm down. Like
that's the vibe I got.
I need to see more about this.
No, it looked really good. I mean, it was something that I did not expect. It's weird because we know Ubisoft is having their Ubi Forward event, and so for me, I felt the same with like Capcom when they were showing some others, like another game we'll get up to too. We'll get up to eventually. Where I'm like, I don't expect to see anything like that for until their showcase or whatever. So for Xbox to get it, I'm like, damn, all right, good on you, Xbox marketing team. Yeah. Good pull there. That's a good one. Because this looked, in my opinion, really good. You know what it is? I'm like starting to get really into. It's weird. I've fallen out of love a little bit with like some of like the Star Wars TV shows. Maybe I'm just kind of like over it a little bit after like Mandalorian and like the Boba Fett series or whatever. So like I'm really into like what did we just get? Jedi Survivor. I love that. And it was so good. And now I'm just into this whole like, can we just get more like AAA Star Wars titles that somehow canonically like take place within like the world of like Star Wars? So for me, I'm like, this is dope. This is sick. We're not a Jedi. And I might normally be like, oh, that just sounds boring. But this caught my attention. But like when they show the part where she was like on like the speedster, I think that's what they're called, like those fast moving like bikes, motorcycle things. Oh my god, dude, there's so many cool moments where I'm like, okay, this could be cool. Like this is gonna give me like that Han Solo kind of like game adventure that I think I'd be down to kind of give it a shot and play it. And no, I mean the characters look great. I mean everything looked great about it. I mean, of course, nothing was like too in there with like actual gameplay or anything. But if I'm not mistaken, they did promise that they were gonna show more at the actual Ubisoft event. I think it was a gameplay walkthrough. So a lot of stuff. And I was telling Bobby this too. Like there's gonna be some stuff where like we didn't see too much of it here, but like in their own actual individual events, like with their own like publisher or whatever, like they're gonna show off some more of it, it looks like. So I'm pretty excited. This to me, like it has potential to be up there, and they're promising it to be also be an open world game. I think it's supposed to be like one of the first big open world Star Wars games. So I'm really curious how that's gonna be. I think that's what it said. So I'm pretty excited for it. I mean, if it's gonna have story, open world, I'm interested. Like, looks good.
Star Wars and open world, like if you pick the right world, like awesome, like do it please, right? Because Star Wars is just it's such a great universe, and like there have been many a fumble in games and in stories told, right? Like Book of Boba Fett, not great, not terrible. Like everyone's like, it's the worst thing. I was like, it wasn't the worst thing ever. But yeah, it's not great, right?
I just didn't get into it. Yeah,
Mandalorian, I thought, it's good. I haven't watched the new season, which I've heard is like it kind of stumbles a little, but
yeah. Me neither. Me neither. And the thing is, I was so into it, but I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of just got a little burnt out a little bit. I'm just like,
the thing, but like Jedi Survivor, right, came out, got a lot of crap because it had a lot of performance issues, and rightly so. Like EA. You give Respawn like another 6 months to because like by the time it's been out 6 months, game's gonna be in fantastic shape. And if EA just been like, sorry, we got to delay it 6 months, and I get it, it sucks, but like just delay it, and then it doesn't look bad when it comes out and is doing poorly. But if Massive has the time, if Ubisoft has the time, and Massive can take the time and really make this go hard, and then they've got the return to form of like the Assassin's Creed Mirage coming, and then they have like the newer style Assassin's Creed game. I forget what it's like, Project Red or whatever. It's supposed to come out later. Ubisoft could like be having like their time to kind of claw their way back.
Hey, they might pull their Capcom, and that's all we ask for. Because Capcom is just killing it right now, dude. They're crushing it
out there and in here, right? You know what I'm saying? Or they're in there and out here, whatever you want to say. They're massacring it right now. Like they're just banger after banger,
right?
And so, man, Ubisoft, please, because like you guys have such great IP. Like do the right thing by it, like give it more time.
Once we see that, what's it called? What's the other one that they have? Now that we have they have their Star Wars, which looks really good now. I think if they pull off their Avatar game and it looks really good, kudos to them.
If they can
pull it off.
Because I have a couple friends who love the new Assassin's Creed, right? And I didn't like it as much. I could see how like if you liked that. If you really wanted like a Witcher game out of Assassin's Creed, that you would be happy with Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla, because that's basically what they are. They're like the Witcher, right? They're just big, it's just like extra like RPG elements, right? It's like, kind of and cool. Like if you like that, cool. But like I don't play Assassin's Creed for that. I play Assassin's Creed to like parkour and like assassinate, right? Like that's me.
Yes, bro. Bro, to take the dagger and take on 10 enemies, that was the best. Like that's what I miss. Yeah, and more actiony, very focus on action.
Get into the combat and then like kick a guy into another guy and just run off, and then go hide. Like, and that was like just super fun because it just felt so. Right. I don't know. It just felt so unique. And then they kind of were like, well, The Witcher did well. What if we did something like The Witcher? And it's like, oh, that's not why I play this. But like I said, I have friends who absolutely adore those newer ones. So I mean, if they're doing the thing where they have both, like awesome, like get one out, let one company put one out 1 year, and then 2 years later put out the different style, then the next year you can put out the next style, right? Alternate them with a couple years in between, and you're good, because then you have a wider audience, and that's cool. Let's talk about 33 Immortals though, because you mentioned that earlier, right? Thunder Lotus,
I'm
right?
so excited for this.
Spiritfarer, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never played it, but I do know it's one of those games where like people liked it a lot. It was a very beloved game. So I just didn't really play it, but this caught my interest.
I was going to say that it looked like Hades, and I was like,
it looked like Hades. So I was like, you already got me. You already got my attention if it has like a Hades vibe to it, and it automatically did. And I was like, all right, I'm down.
33-player dungeon crawler co-op, like.
Yes, bro. That's what that was like the cherry that I needed on top of it to be like, all right, you know what? Yeah, this is now a day one comp for me.
Anyway, just because it looks like how it looks. Like we said, like it's got that top-down dungeon crawl kind of look, and I was like, yeah, that looks awesome. Like I'm down, right? And then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, it's like 33 players co-op going through these dungeons and stuff. I was like, what? Like,
which. I need to know how that's gonna work, because that's a lot of people on a screen like that. I don't even know how that works. Like that.
Yeah, they showed it.
Like they showed it. They definitely showed it in like the trailer, and I was like, dude, that's a lot of people. That's crazy.
The dungeons are gonna be pretty big, right? They're probably be procedurally generated. They're gonna be pretty big. And like groups of people are gonna be able to go off and do like one objective and another, but you're gonna need like. And if you do that and you got 33 people, that means if they're massive, massive dungeons, it could still take you, 30 minutes to do one with 30 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be rad, right? Because they say something like come in and raid, and
that sounds like a fun time.
I've been playing Destiny and like for years. Like I love like that big raid party thing. And yeah, this one, it wasn't a long trailer, but man, that one left an impression, I think, on both of us, right? Like it's just looked like, yes, like, let me get my Steam Deck out. All right, I got a terabyte in there now. It's getting that game, right? Like if that comes to Steam, 100%. Like after that, we have Payday 3.
Yeah, I'm not much on that. I never really played the Payday game, so that's pretty cool.
Back in the day, when that came out, like 2011 or something, Payday 2 came out a long time ago. It's fun. It's like a heist game. You know, it's just
that's what it looked like in the trailer.
Like you're, in the old one, it was like you're a team of 4. You go in, you do the heist, and you try and get out, and that's the game, right? And you got to figure out how to deal with different situations like police, security, whatever. Payday 3, though, you know, I feel like a little bit like we're past the time of Payday, but that's just me. Like Payday 2, like again, Payday 2 was, I think, like at least a decade ago, at least. So Payday 3 coming out after all this time is like, oh, okay, if they introduce some new stuff, then yeah. I mean, and it looks like Payday 2, but just really well updated, which I'm okay with. But whether or not it's going to resonate with the general public nowadays, that remains to be seen. But I mean, you know, I'm like, you know, maybe I'll check it out. I think it's coming to Game Pass, right? So
this is one of those games I could definitely see, like, you know, a big time streamer. I don't know, like you know, give me a streamer. I don't know, like Hassan and Nabi, or give me some big streamer to play this like one time, you know, and then like I could just. Yeah, why not? Right? Why not? I don't know, but it's. I could just see it being one of those games that, like, you know, a big time streamer plays it, and people start playing it for like a week or two before it probably just like dies.
Playing this is
maybe I don't know.
Charlie is Moist Critical, 100%.
Oh yeah, like Moist Critical. Yeah, probably. It definitely just seems like it's going to be one of those games for sure.
Everyone picks it up for like 3 weeks, like you said. Yeah, I could definitely see that, right? It's like Sea of Thieves, right? September 21st.
When does it come out? September 21st? I was going to say right next to Starfield. I don't know.
We're going to talk about Starfield.
We'll see how much that does.
A little bit later. Persona 3 Reload. We kind of do this. Atlas leaked it out. Yeah, it would have been
what a
super.
Shame.
Okay, so there's two things that make this such a...
Dude, this would have been big, and it
two
sucks.
Things, right, that have killed Persona 3 Reload, right? The first was Atlas fucked up and leaked it out yesterday, and that was a surprise. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we heard the rumors and we knew it was coming, but now we absolutely know. So like that moment of there it is, like, you know, like it's like even at the Sony showcase, right, when we saw Spider-Man, we were just like Spider-Man, right? Like but because we knew, it was like, oh yeah, there it is, we knew it was happening, right? Like we already knew. So and that's part of being dialed in, right? Like we are, right? You work in PR and I work, you know, doing this. So like we're very dialed in. Yeah, we just know this.
We just know.
So if you're one of those people like us, which if you're watching this, you probably are, you're dialed into gaming news. You probably saw this. We're like, oh yeah, we already know. So let go. The other thing is that they came out today and said it's basically going to be the base version of Persona 3, but remastered without all the super nifty extra content. That which a lot that does kind of suck. I mean, I've seen people who the second it was going to like they're like, we knew this was happening, but it's so good, it's there, and then like 2 hours later, after Atlas goes, yeah, we're actually only doing the base game, they're like, yeah, I'm not buying this. Then there's no point. This is like there's already Persona 3 with all the extra stuff on it. It's like, why not just keep that? And if they add the extra stuff later, they just buy it all in one bundle. It turns from a day one to maybe I'll pick it up on sale if you add all the stuff that I actually want.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you got Xbox, it's on Game Pass. So there you go. That might be how I get it. I mean, to be fair, I was telling Bobby too. Like, I hadn't actually played this one yet because I'm kind of catching up and like playing some of the past Persona games. But 3 I haven't touched yet, and I remember 3 was like the one where people were like, "It's good," but like it's more of like a novel and everything, so you might not like that. And so like I think I was always on the fence about it. So it getting like the remake treatment and it actually having a lot of elements, I think, from like Persona 5 in it, which looks really freaking sick. You know, on top of just the already like sick looking like visual upgrade, it really caught my interest. But I will say it kind of sucks that like if there was like a lot of additional content that they're just kind of gonna cut out with this version of it, that does kind of suck a little bit. Because I know people who say like if you had a choice between playing like Persona 5 Vanilla versus Persona 5 Royale, I think it is, get that version instead. So like I know that kind of like gotta suck, to play this without the extra content. But I mean, I'm definitely still excited for this though. I mean, this is still pretty big. I mean, I was telling Bobby too, like this is also like a pretty really big get for Xbox. Like I think sometimes I kind of forget that like Xbox and like Sega Atlas have like this partnership, like they say in the showcase. Like it's weird because if I'm not mistaken, I think Bobby, right, wasn't it at the Xbox showcase? Was it last year when they actually revealed the collection of the past games? I think that was at an Xbox showcase. So I tend to forget that like Sega Atlas X Xbox, is a thing. And so for me, I'm always like, damn, like they really got that, because I remember when Persona 5 came out. And I think that was a PlayStation. Yeah, that was a PlayStation exclusive for like a minute, right? It was just recently, right? Until they actually like brought out all the games for all the rest of the platforms. So sometimes I'm like, damn, like I wonder, well, not that I hope, but like I wonder if PlayStation, did they at least get like Persona 6? I mean, that could be the thing. They just got like, maybe they got Persona 6, but they didn't just get the rest of these games. But if not, I mean, damn, Xbox really came and swooped in and they made that partnership with Sega Atlas. So good on them. I mean, that was the whole big thing, right? Was to get more of the Japanese RPGs, right? That connection with Xbox. And so for them to get something like this, for me to see that, it's just like, okay, good on them for actually landing that. Because I think, if anything, Bobby, I don't know if you agree or not, but like Persona has grown in popularity. Yes. I feel like since 5, and so like this is a pretty big JRPG, I think, to get, one of them at least, because they got another one after this one, which we'll get to.
I would agree with that.
But this is pretty big.
Persona is definitely in the last few years really picked up steam. The one thing that is rough for Xbox is like Atlas knows that like they can't just exclusively go to Xbox, right? Because they're making that Game Pass deal.
Right.
And yeah, they might go like, hey, we'll take, 10 million. But if they go to, Sony as well and Switch as well, like Switch is absolutely going to sell this game. And PlayStation is absolutely going to sell this game. And if they just sell 1 million copies, then they've made 70 million from PlayStation. Right. So, or 60 million even. Right. So Microsoft, I think with the Japanese stuff, it's going to take them a long time because they have such a weak presence in Japan. I see the sales numbers and stuff come up every couple weeks, and it's like you see the PS4 outselling the Xbox Series consoles, both of them combined in Japan, and it's like, ooh, that's rough. If they can convince one of these JRPG makers to go full on exclusive Xbox, I think they're going to start making inroads. But that's the real challenge right now. And it is good to see them getting those Japanese developers. With this, we're still going to see this come out on PlayStation. It's still going to come out on Switch. And that's where it's actually going to sell. And I think Atlas knows that, right? And so they're like, yeah, we'll take your money to put it on Game Pass because, you see a lot of Xbox players who go like, hey, like we don't want to really buy this. We just want to play it on Game Pass. And it's fair. Like that's the value proposition, right? That Microsoft is trying to sell. Like you don't have to buy anything. At the same time, devs know like, hey, if we want to survive, we got to sell, But I'm hoping they can because they've had a couple wins with these JRPG makers in the last few years. And, considering like Square, like they lost Octopath Traveler as a franchise and they haven't had Final Fantasy for a while. Getting something like Persona and getting the marketing rights and stuff is a big win for them. Yeah,
I was going to say, if anything, at the end of the day, it's just a big W for Xbox to land, the marketing rights for a pretty big JRPG franchise at this point. I mean, Sega Atlas is, killing it with this, and a game that we'll probably get to eventually, part of the Yakuza series. So
next up was one that was really anticipated. We basically knew it was going to be there, but it was still good to see it. However, there's been a little bit of controversy about Avowed. Avowed has been anticipated for years, and it looks rad. It's Obsidian, and if you're a fan of Western RPGs, you know Obsidian, right? Fallout New Vegas, right? They've recently made The Outer Worlds. Yeah, because The Outer Wilds was the weird experimental game. They made The Outer Worlds. Yeah. Where like Outer Wilds was like the weird rogue, right? Or not rogue, but like the space one where it's like a time loop that you keep resetting. And The Outer Worlds was Obsidian's like kind of like, hey, we're still making Fallout style Western RPGs. Cool. Avowed is coming out. I think they said 2024. I'm gonna say that this is gonna be like the early 2024 release. It's either gonna be first or second quarter for sure. 2024. They've had more than enough time. Phil Spencer at that kind of Funny Games, I think, interviews said, hey, this is finally having good builds. and it looked good. The controversy comes from the art style change, where it went from being pretty realistic to now a little more cartoonish, right? A little more exaggerated characters, exaggerated features on things, right?
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen people saying that. Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind it, right? We talked about art style earlier. Like, art style is a thing that is very important. If everything is photorealistic, trust me, guys, it's going to suck. Like, who cares at that point? Because it's just like, I'm just going to, like, are you playing Call of Duty? Sure, you want that to be kind of photorealistic. But if you're like wielding spells and stuff, like, yeah, you want some kind of like evil zombie looking weird enemies to come at you, and you want like the guys to look evil, and like you can't have everything look like God of War Ragnarok or Call of Duty, right? With that super photorealism. Otherwise, it's just going to get kind of stale. Right.
Yeah.
So this change.
No, I was just gonna agree with you real quick, Bob. Just say like when you think about like how Outer Worlds look, I mean, this kind of has a style similar to what Outer Worlds look like. So I don't think it should be too much of a surprise that it end up looking like this. But I could definitely see where people are maybe just being like, hey, that first teaser we gave, it felt way more realistic than what we were gonna get. But I don't know. I guess I'm not walking away like, oh my god, like, what a robbery or something. Like I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, this looks like an Outer Worlds. I mean. It kind of gives me that vibe of, the same thing. So,
yeah,
I guess I'm not too surprised.
It still looks fun. The magic and stuff and the combat looks like it could be really cool. It looked like there's a lot of biodiversity, right? There's a lot of different enemy types, a lot of different like places to see. Mm-hmm. And that was like my main beef with Halo Infinite is like that entire giant map was just like 3 colors. It was like green, brown, and silver.
Yeah.
Or gray, right? Like there's like blues and purples and oranges and reds and browns. Like it looked great. It looked like it had a definitive, kind of like we said with Fable, this definitive thing that hopefully will like let that be the Xbox kind of style. Let them grow and have that. Like it's just like Nintendo is kind of very soft with their graphics, right? They don't try too hard to get crazy graphics going. They try to get like Mario looking like Mario. He's a goofy little Italian plumber looking dude, right? And even like Tears of the Kingdom, right? It just looks kind of like Princess Mononoke, the game, right? So you need that. You need that art style stuff. But Avowed, coming 2024, coming to Steam with Xbox. I want to like that, especially with Obsidian. They haven't quite earned my trust back yet, but this is a great start. So I will likely try that on Game Pass, and if it's good, I will purchase it because I 100% believe in that. But is there anything that you really liked about Avowed, Lethal?
I mean, it kind of just gave me like, Obsidian's take on Skyrim. It has like that feel to it, like that cartoony-ish kind of take on like another big expansive like world. I mean, that's kind of how I always looked at like at least the last game, which was like was it Outer Worlds. I kind of just got the vibe of like another like another take on like an Elder Scrolls kind of game or something. So I don't know. It's one of those where like I think I'll play it. I mean, I'm kind of glad it's on Game Pass, right? That's the beauty of a lot of these games. Actually, when you think about it, they're all going to be on Game Pass. So if you don't want to buy the full price, you just want to try it out or whatever. Get it on Game Pass. So at the end of the day, what this is just showing me is that 2024 looks like you have your money's worth so far, right? You're going to have your Game Pass worth of money, I think. So
one thing I don't think is that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be complaining too much next year for your Game Pass subscription. Like, I think you'll actually have its worth next year.
Basically, come September, right, this year, it's finally worth it for the first time in about 2 years. Right. So that I mean, I don't know. We were talking. I don't know how you actually got through Redfall because I couldn't. But yeah, after that, and after how damn disappointed I was in that, I just straight up like I canceled my Game Pass, right? But Starfield, I'm gonna try it, and if it's good, I'm gonna buy it. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, if you put out a quality product, I will buy it. And I've said that 1,000 times, especially when it comes to Xbox. Like, make me want to buy your game. That's all you have to do.
Right.
Like, make a good game, and I'm gonna buy it. Like, that's and it looks like they're really putting that together. So past that, Sea of Thieves, Legend of Monkey Island. If you have Sea of Thieves, it's a free update out on July 20th. Legend of Monkey Island. Guybrush Threepwood is a character in Sea of Thieves, which, I think last year they had the Pirates of the Caribbean story that went for a number of months.
Mm-hmm. I think that was last year,
it was last year or 2 years ago, but now they have this this Legend of Monkey Island, right? And it looked funny, but like Sea of Thieves is a live service. You could expect this kind of content drop ideally from it. It appears that it's doing well enough that they keep it alive, even though you look on Steam charts, it's got like 3,000 to 4,000 players at a time, which is not that much, right? That's like barely over Halo Infinite numbers. You look at something like Elder Scrolls Online or Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 14, if we had access to those numbers, woo! Like Destiny 2 has like 100,000 people on at the same time, and that is not even close to Final Fantasy 14's numbers, right? So we see on the Steam charts, like Sea of Thieves has 3,000, but that doesn't count Game Pass. Now, I assume personally that Steam is probably 10 to 20% of the population that's actually playing a game, right? Between PC Game Pass and the consoles. So I would say, maybe at best case scenario, Sea of Thieves has 30,000 people on at a time, right? And remember, the Destiny 2 numbers are not counting consoles either, which is, again, like PC it's pretty popular, but like when Destiny was a console game first, that's where a majority of the player base is, Xbox and PlayStation. Sea of Thieves, though, it's been going strong. I keep trying to get into it, and I'm so old, Lethal, like I can't remember how to actually start a mission. Like I start up the game and I'm like, I'm gonna go and try and play this, and then I go to the little table to start a mission and I can never remember how.
Bobby, trust me, you don't worry about it, dude. Because I remember when the Pirates of the Caribbean one got announced, I was like, you know what? I do kind of want to like give it a shot and see if I like it. I loaded it up, and I did it with my one friend, and he was like, "Oh, you have to do a couple things first." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that." But I was also just kind of confused because it's one of those games that I think just kind of drops you in, and you just kind of like go about your business. But it wasn't for me either.
That's one of those things for a lot of live service games, like the company that figures out how to like make player onboarding actually smooth will just dominate any live service.
Yeah.
Right. Cause like I had so many friends who were like, oh, you always talk about Destiny. I'm going to play Destiny. And then they play it and they're like, I just didn't understand what's going on. And like, if I have the time to sit down and like play with them and go like, well, you do this. And they go, oh yeah, the game doesn't tell you any of that. I'm like, I know, right? And same thing like with Warframe, when I was learning how to play that. With Sea of Thieves, I had some friends years ago show me how to play that. And then I forgot, they stopped playing, and so now I don't remember how to start a mission. But yeah, like the company that makes the live service that goes, hey, new players, this is how you do everything in our game. You guys will win the day, because like so many players just try it and they stop. They turn the game off and uninstall it. Like I've done that with Sea of Thieves like 4 times over the years. Yeah, I literally can't figure out how to get off the starting island. Like,
right. I mean, at the end of the day, I was just gonna say, like, good on them for getting like more of these collabs. Because I think that's one thing that I do like give props to Sea of Thieves is they keep landing like these cool collaborations. I thought the Pirates one was like really cool. Yeah. So like them to get like Monkey Island I think it's a pretty cool thing. Like I remember playing this when I was a kid. Like I played like the first one, and I don't remember if I played the second one or not. But no, it's cool to see like Guybrush Threepwood and like what's it called, like LeChunk or LeChuck, I think it is, like the villain dude. What's it called? It's cool to see it. So cool for them to get like these collaborations and to keep it going. This is what this is a live service game, right? This is like one of their live service games. So you're gonna see updates like these. You kind of have to. They can't just go, because there's still people who are gonna come back. And that's the thing too. Like Bobby was just saying, like maybe the numbers are small now, but this might be something where people are like, oh, I'm gonna get back into this now because I love the Legend of Monkey Island. So yeah, we'll see. And
if they love, like one of my buddies, one of his favorite series of all time is the Legend of Monkey Island. Yeah. And he sent me a text today. He was like, hey, do you know anything about Sea of Thieves? And I was like, explaining the whole like I can't remember how to start a mission thing to him, like but I was like, yeah, when I did play it when it launched and I was playing with friends, it was super fun. And he's like, dude, I want to check it out because I have Game Pass, and Monkey Island's like one of my favorite things ever. I was like, dude, do it. I know he's always talked about how much he loves Monkey Island since I've known him, since we were like 13. So yeah, this does seem like a W again, like just like this big collab to create a new story for players to play in Sea of Thieves, and I think that's just awesome. Even though like I'm too old to remember how to play Sea of Thieves, for those who do enjoy it, I think that is a huge W Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. I'm not gonna lie, I don't care, but that's me.
The only thing I could say to add to that, Bobby, is it always looks good. Every time I see
Super
Flight
good.
Simulator, I'm like, this game looks incredible. Like, it's easily one of the most like beautiful looking games. I don't know how they do it, but they absolutely crush it. Like even the environments,
Yes.
I'm like, God damn,
Well,
like aside from just the planes, it's so good.
They do it because like the footage they show is on like a 4090 with like a Ryzen 7970.
Probably, yeah.
And it does look great, but like if you're playing it like on my system, I've got like a 3080, which is a couple years old now, right? It'd probably go like 30 FPS looking that good, right? Because it is simulating like the whole world, right? Effectively,
right.
Or a big chunk as you fly over it, right? But like me, I've never been like a sim person, right? That's just me personally. If you're excited about Flight Sim, that's great. There's a lot of new stuff. You like take on jobs, right? You can be like a firefighter, right?
It was like a save people, like rescue missions.
Rescue,
I will say they were adding some cool things that I was like, oh, like that's kind of interesting. Like, that's pretty cool. I mean, not for me, but I mean, still super cool. Like to see them add more content to it. So that's pretty dope.
For me, I could actually see like if there's an objective other than fly the plane. You know what I mean? Like, then fly the plane to like Chicago. Like, I don't care about that. But like, I could try. If they're like, "Oh, hey, you're flying like a fire helicopter, and you got to put out like," maybe I'll try that, right?
Right.
But yeah, traditionally, Flight Simulator, I wouldn't really care too much personally. But if you are hyped for it, like we said, it does look good. And then they have a Dune expansion for the first Flight Sim, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think that goes back to the one that's currently going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty cool. And that's for the upcoming Dune part 2, right?
Yeah. I think it's like, does it go alongside it? Yeah, November 3rd. That's probably when the movie's coming out. So that would make some sense.
So check that out if you have Microsoft Flight Simulator and you want to check out that expansion. And up next is one of the big ones, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. This looked incredible. I will say, like, it looks like Xbox has finally caught up to The Last of Us 2. It only took them 3 years. But this might even look better than The Last of Us 2. It looked really good.
This I think goes up there as like one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Like I think if you go back and you watch this on the 4K footage, you'll be like, oh my God, like it looks really good. Like, no joke. I think I said this to Bobby. I was like, this is like easily like their graphical showpiece. Like, this is the game that's like not a racing game that actually just looks phenomenal. And I remember playing the first one, and I think that was kind of like the thing with it too. Is like it was a really good narrative thing, like a narrative game that like I said before, like the gameplay combat like was just not for me. I didn't really enjoy it. But it looked pretty good at its time. This one, I think, will be the same thing. Yeah,
and I'm not going into Hellblade 2 thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna have some awesome like God of War, 2018 combat. Like combat's like it services the story. That's all it's there to do, and I'm okay with that. But yes, the lighting, the textures, and everything of this looked fantastic. The one thing that really concerns me is that, again, it's like in-engine footage, and we didn't see any actual gameplay here. Like in Fable, you could go, maybe some of these things are gameplay, right?
Right.
And Avowed, we saw some gameplay. Here, this is like very clearly, this is a pre-rendered in-engine thing. This is a cutscene that's happening.
Yeah, I was saying it looked like a straight up cutscene. Like it was nothing but just her, like having the voices in her head and talking to herself. Kind of like there was not a single thing that she did besides just, it just looked like a cutscene, straight up cutscene.
Yeah, and that's worrisome because they said 2024, and we know I think they started motion capture like in 2022, and they're doing it really well. Like Unreal 5 allows you to do that stuff really fast, but there's still all the other game systems you have to work out. So it's hoping they show some actual gameplay, right? Like you mentioned, they're going to have, right, when we were talking before recording, they're going to have, another day where they show some stuff. And I'm hoping we get to actually see some kind of gameplay from Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
That being said, Naughty Dog, you actually have some competition now.
Oh yeah, dude.
So like step it up because like The Last of Us 2 is still, I mean, I was playing it not too long ago. It is still
Holds up.
Yeah, it's still the best looking thing. And then part 1 even, right? The remake.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's even more recent. Yeah.
Like incredible. Like, and it looks better than part 2. And now you see this and you're like, okay, like Ninja Theories, they're like the Naughty Dog for Xbox. They're going to make those story bangers that like absolutely draw you in with how realistic, right? And this is a case where you want this to feel realistic, right? Because like Naughty Dog is really good at human stories, like with Uncharted, Last of Us. And that's what like them having that realistic style does. It makes you feel for those characters, because the more real a character looks when it's like a human story, the more you're going to just like be drawn in and feel for that character.
And also, I was just adding there real quick, Bobby, too, is like something with like just like the style of how they do these Senua games. Because remember, the first one was the same thing, but like graphically is one thing, but what they do with like audio is ridiculous, Bobby. I don't know if you remember like hearing this, and like the way that they have like the ASMR style like whispers in her ears, like the voices in her head, like just the way they do it, dude. Because like I can hear it from my left side to my right side. Like they just have like a really good like finesse with like audio too. Like it's. Ninja Theory is like that studio where like, yo, like they go off. And like this game, I know they're gonna go off with it. Not just graphically, but like you're gonna hear some crazy I just know audio wise, it's gonna be so off the charts. You're gonna hear all types of really good stuff, dude.
Yeah, the first game, right? They did years of research into how people with the mental condition that Senua has deal with those auditory hallucinations, right? And they tried to recreate that as like as faithfully as they could, given the circumstances, right? Given that they can't experience it themselves, right? And I think that does play a big part of her story, Senua's stories, right? That she has her condition, and you feel it as you're playing because of the way they do the audio. You're right. That's what makes Hellblade stand out as a series, right? It's like Mario's physics of his jumps. Like that's the thing with Mario, right? The controls are always so tight and so precise, right? You always like when you play a Mario game, it plays like Mario. Nothing else plays like it, right? It's Mario. And Hellblade is the audio like sells the experience of the game. So let's talk about Like a Dragon, right? This is Yakuza, but they are now calling it the Like a Dragon franchise, like they haven't been in Japan for forever, right? This trailer was super funny.
Yeah, it was.
He wakes up.
I was shocked. I was like, beach. Whoa.
And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm down, Yeah. And yeah, Xbox getting Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, a new Like a Dragon title. Early 2024, it says. That's another W, like on the Japan front, right? We were talking about that earlier.
Same. I guess you could say same studio or same company. Sega. The Xbox has a thing with Sega, man, and it's pretty cool. I guess to see that they've managed to make that partnership a thing with Sega Atlas and with Sega. They're getting these Like a Dragon games on top of the Persona ones. Persona. So good on them.
And it's very cool because again they're getting the marketing rights. The one thing I'm hoping they can do, but again it comes down to their market saturation, especially in Japan, right? Is that like I'd feel better for Xbox if they could go, hey, exclusive, but they can't. Like they're not getting a Japanese game exclusive, right? They may get the marketing and they may have top of mind here. But like in Japan, everyone's gonna go, oh yeah, Like a Dragon? Oh, I'll get on my PlayStation. Because that's what they play in Japan, right? That looked like a real fun time. It's really just a silly kind of trailer.
Yeah, there wasn't much to it. Yeah, it was more like a cool reveal.
Yeah, like an announcement trailer, right? Then we have Path of the Goddess, new Capcom one.
Cool.
It looked very cool. I am torn, and I put out a tweet on this earlier, and it was this in particular that made me think of it, right? Because Capcom we talked about it earlier. They have absolutely just been killing it lately.
Yeah.
And this comes out, I was like, man, that looks really great. And then at the end it says day one on Game Pass. Right? And I was like, ooh, because Capcom knows now, right? With how well they've been doing, they know that people are going, yeah, Capcom's back, right? We can like, yeah, we'll buy Capcom because they're killing it. If you're putting it on Game Pass, it tells me you don't think that's going to be one of your top of the line bangers. That's as simple as it goes from a company as big as Capcom, right? Because I don't think Like a Dragon said Game Pass, and I don't think what was it? Star Wars said Game Pass, right?
Star Wars definitely not on Game Pass.
Yeah,
Like a Dragon, not on Game Pass now.
Yeah, because those companies know those are going to sell, right? And yeah, Xbox gets a marketing deal, but here with Capcom, they're probably going like, this is one we're not super sure about, so we're going to take that guaranteed Xbox money and hope it sells on the other one.
Yeah,
right. That's what I take from that. Now it does, like I said, it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. Not everything on Game Pass is bad. Some of it is Redfall, but
oh my god,
this one looked really cool.
Yeah.
The weird like hands coming up, like it's like fungus that grows up its hands, and
it had all types of funky looking like stuff, dude. It was like bodies opening up, and like it was like openings for like little demon spawn things to come out. But I will say like not only did like the character designs, especially like the actual like samurai, I guess I don't know if he's like a ninja samurai cyborg thing. Just the designs of them, and also just like the way the combat kind of looked. Like I don't know what the hell they were doing, but like the cool. Like it even had like that DMC style combat too. Like it was very fast. It looked like it could be fast paced. I don't know. I feel like the combat of this show was like very snippets of it. It wasn't like a nice long out. I could see what like a good combo looked like. But I don't know. It had my interest. I mean, this reminded me of when we saw, what was it, Wulong? That was like a Game Pass game, and I was like, man, some people were for it, some people weren't. But when I played Wulong, I freaking enjoyed it and I loved it. So I probably will like this. This looks like it's gonna be kind of fun. Like I'm down for this.
Yeah, what this kind of reminds me of is like Trek to Yomi, right? Mm-hmm. It's got that same vibe where it looks like, it's like very Japanese looking. Looks like you're kind of dealing with demons in the underworld, right?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me personally. And it's like the first thing it reminded me of, I was like, it looks like Trek to Yomi, like if Dr. Seuss made it, right? Like, because it's got tons of colors and tons of crazy stuff everywhere. Like Dr. Seuss and H.R. Giger, maybe. Let's put it that way, right? This really demonic, evil looking stuff, like you said, like bodies splitting open, and like arms coming out of them, like the hands coming out of the floor, wrapping around the buildings. The combat, especially, reminded me of Trek to Yomi, like a bunch of enemies kind of swarming, and you have to kind of deal with them. So I'm hoping that it is good because it looks very cool. Like Trek to Yomi, I guess didn't get great reviews, but I really liked that game. I thought it was great, and I'm super happy it's on PS Plus this month because like now I get it for free, even though I've played it because we had the review code for $5.99. But
was it good?
Yeah, it was good. I really liked it. I thought that the fact that it really looked like an old Kurosawa movie was just like, it was awesome to me, right? And then the combat was it was serviceable. It wasn't the best combat ever, but once you really got the flow of it, right? Because it took a while to really like get the feel for it. But then once you got it, it's like, okay, I feel kind of now how things kind of settle into a rhythm. But yeah. Forza Motorsport. We knew this was coming. We got the official date, even though it leaked yesterday or this morning.
Something like that, yeah.
October 10th for Forza Motorsport. I'm sorry, racing enthusiasts. This again for me comes to I don't care, but it looks pretty. Lethal?
Nope, same here. I'm not the biggest. the only time I get excited for racing games is if it's like Burnout.
Yes,
like a combat racer, like a Burnout or like a Twisted Metal. Like those are my style, like car games. So like I'm not for the traditional racing. I mean, I did a little bit get into like Need for Speed, but like I'm more into like the vehicular combat style like games.
Back in the day, right? You have no idea how happy I was when I tested Burnout Paradise, right?
Oh, so good.
So you have no idea how happy I was when they were like, hey, Bobby, we need you to test like the crash mode. And I was like, I'm your man. Like, I'm down. Like, let me do it. Like, I remember, what was that old Dave Mirra's BMX? I think it was like PS1, right? It was like when Tony Hawk was coming out, they made a Dave Mirra BMX game. and like one of the modes was like like the bailout mode, right? You have to like the biggest crash. How much can you hurt yourself? How much stuff can you destroy on your way down? And Burnout was the same thing. And I was like, I'm down with this, right? And I'm with you there. If it's like a fun, really stupid arcade or combat kind of car game, I'm down. Otherwise, I'm just like, every other car game I've ever played feels exactly the same.
Right.
Like, to me, if you're into the car games, Forza Motorsport, October 10th, awesome. It looks fantastic, right? That and GT7, I don't know what they're really gonna take it further anymore. It's cars with lighting and ray tracing now. That's all you really need. And we have peaked in the racing genre, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But but Forza Motorsport, another actual more serious racer, unlike Forza Horizon. But yeah, that should be coming out October 10th. Overwatch 2 Invasion. I said it was real bold for them to put this in here. Like they're trying to advertise, here's our replacement PvE mode for the PvE mode that we totally bailed on and are not making. We're just going to put in this like cheap copy. Ugh. Yeah, that to me, that was not good. I mean, I'm still going to probably check it out because like I do like the Overwatch PvE stuff. My personal feelings about Blizzard aside, with how they run things and their whole thing, Overwatch is it feels really great. And when they do their PvE stuff and they get it tuned up, and they pick the right characters for the right game modes and stuff, it can be a really great time, especially with friends, and especially if you like put it on the hardest difficulty and you make it through. That feels incredible. What do you think about this, Lethal? Did you like how it looked?
I mean, I'm not the biggest Overwatch person either. This is like another one of those games where I'm just like, okay, it's cool to see, but like, I'm not too big on it. I mean, it looked cool. I mean, if there's anything that would get me into this, maybe it is like those story missions that they did kind of add in because, in that type of way of looking at this game, it did have like catch my interest a bit. But I mean, aside from that, I know they added like some new stuff in there, like the firing range, I think was one of them. They added like the Flashpoint game mode, stuff like that. For like at this point, I'm not already invested into that like whole thing. I'm not going to probably care about that. That's why, like, I think maybe if anything, I look away and I'm just like, okay, maybe those story missions might be a thing. But I mean, it's cool for people that like obviously are invested into the Overwatch 2 game. So they got story missions. Hey, that's something, right? Maybe not what you wanted, but you got something.
Yeah, and I could see them kind of salvaging something of a PvE community if they were able to, like, every month give a new set of missions. If they were able to do that, then maybe, like, you get some people who are really enthusiastic about the PvP back, right? Yeah. Right now, so many people are soured on the fact that they're like, yeah, we told you like 4 years ago that we're making the whole PvE mode we wanted to make originally. And then we insisted we had to put out Overwatch 2 to facilitate that. Oh, and by the way, like, we're not doing that anymore. But Overwatch 2 is here now, and it's free to play, but there's tons of really, really scummy microtransactions in there. Enjoy. Like, right. I get why people are upset with that. Like, I'm upset with that. Like, I was looking forward to the true hero mode and stuff like that. Because, like, I was like, that could be really great. If they do it right. And everything they showed looked awesome. And then they were just like, sorry. But if you are a Game Pass subscriber, they are giving the 6 heroes, right, and some skins and cosmetics out starting August 10th. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you can play on your Xbox, on your PC, the Overwatch new hero invasion stuff, right? And you get the new characters that have been released since Overwatch 2 came out, I think, and some more goodies to play with. After that, they showed Persona 5 Tactica. What'd you think about this, Lethal?
This was dope. I mean, unfortunately, this also got leaked along with the Persona 3 remake. This is the other one that got leaked. But it's cool. I mean, I'm a big fan of like Fire Emblem, and I like to play. Oh my god, dude! I wish for the day that this comes back to any degree. But I was a big fan of like the Final Fantasy Tactics series. So, this just kind of is up my alley with like those like tactical RPG games. So, I mean, I'm down. This looks cool. I mean, I love Persona 5. Actually, Persona 5 is what got me even into Sega Atlas games in general. So, that was my intro. So for them to just continue with Persona 5, it's funny because I'm so new to like the whole like, Persona universe or whatever. So for me, I'm like, oh my God, they're making another Persona like game off of like Persona 5. And people are like, dude, that's like the norm for Persona games. They spin off so many games from like, whatever the core series number is at that time. So I guess it's just, so for me, it's just like, oh, cool. Like, we're just getting more Persona 5. Like, I'm so hyped for that. This is dope. I'm excited. I mean, I love the chibi art style. Some people I know don't like that, but like, I'm an anime nerd and I'm into that type of stuff. So like, I like it. I'm down with it. Plus, I don't know if it's like a brand new story, which I think it might be a brand new story. So
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're just going to continue a story with like my favorite people so far in the Persona universe, I'm down, dude. Sign me up. When is it coming out? November 17th. I think it's a day one Game Pass too. So like, shout out to Xbox for nabbing that Game Pass deal. So I'm going to get this definitely. I'll definitely be renewing my Game Pass subscription for this because this is dope.
Yeah. That's what I said. Like come September. I mean, Liza P playing through that demo. It's not bad, right?
I'm loving it, dude.
I like it. They gotta tighten it up a little bit for the full release, in my opinion. But it's not bad, and that may. I think that comes out in August, right? Like that may actually get me to
it got pushed back to September.
Okay, so September is the month when I absolutely
that's what I'm saying.
Because Starfield's coming out. Like I have to try it out. Right?
September is the month to renew your Game Pass. If you didn't already know, now you know. September is that month.
But it did have that cool like Fire Emblem, like XCOM, like grid-based combat, which if you like it, like I feel like if people like that combat, they love it, right? They're just like, I'm down with this, right? And for Persona, like the art style didn't seem out of place. I saw some people go like, this is not Persona. I'm like, doesn't seem that bad.
Probably the chibi.
Some people like they take chibi and they're like, oh, I can't take this seriously.
I know so many people who hate chibi.
Yeah, I get that. If we were talking about earlier, right? Art style makes the game for us, and if someone has a really terrible art style that you hate, I guess I could see that making you go like, nope, not dealing with it, right? But if not, if you're a fan of Persona and you don't mind the chibi and you want to try the kind of Fire Emblem style combat. Check it out. That's again a big win for Xbox. November 17th. That's coming out. All right, the big boy. We're gonna do a separate video about this. At least I am. But we're gonna talk about it now because this is such such a huge game. Starfield. Tell me about it, Lethal.
I was waiting for you to make me go first, or you're gonna go first on this one. I mean, I was sold on this when it got like revealed. So I'm not in the ballpark of like, am I gonna be super critical on it? Here's my thing and my take on this for me personally. I know what I'm expecting from a Bethesda game, right? You're talking to someone who played, oh my God, dude, I went back to, I think it was like on Xbox Morrowind. I went in, got into Skyrim, obviously, Fallout 4, I think I got into, New Vegas I got into, I tried 76, whatever. But the point is, like, I'm a Bethesda guy, so like I know what to expect from them. So for me, it's like I'm down. I'm already down because I'm just a Bethesda fan. But this just looks massive. And Bob, it got to a point where I was like watching it today, or I was watching like the deep dive section of it, where I was like tired. I was tired, Bobby.
I can't keep track of all this shit. Come on, Todd, stop.
It's not even that, Bobby. It's that like I think the game is just too big. Like I think the game might just be too big, or I might just get like frustrated that it's just too freaking big.
Well, see, that's my thing. It's funny because that was my thing with Elden Ring. Like at a certain point, I was just like, there's too much shit here. Right? Like, and I will even say, like, how much of a fucking Zelda fan I am. Like, some of the depths in Tears of Kingdom, I was like, this is the whole map. Like, it's the whole map underneath the map. Like, I have to do this twice. Like, I did get it done, but that's besides the point. Starfield is looking monumental, and it looks like this could be the thing that if they land it, right, because there's some lofty fucking ambitions here that they were spitting out today. Like, customize your character, make it anything.
10 galaxies? Is that what it was? 10 galaxies. 1,000 planets. It's like 1,000 planets. I was like, oh, I don't got time for that. There's no way.
They're procedurally generated. They're going to have procedurally generated stories. We have we have our written scripted stuff that happens as the planet is procedurally generated. I was like, what? What does that even mean? Like, I don't know how they're going to deliver on all this, but if they can deliver on all of this, this game, like, I would not be mad if it wins Game of the Year. If what they said comes out and it works the way they're saying it's supposed to work. If it comes out and it's all fucked up, sorry. Like, I know, but like every open world game, right, has jank, right? I just call it open world jank. Like,
yeah,
there's going to be spots where you get stuck on something, you fall through the map, right? If you play any open world game long enough, every single one, I don't care what it is. But Bethesda games are notorious for having a whole lot of jank. I think, like, if this game is too big for its britches and there's too much jank, it's going to leave a lot of people disappointed, because this looks so good. It really does. And I'm hoping that this is as good as they say it is. Because if it, man, I like Bethesda, man. Bethesda's rad. Like, their RPGs are legendary, and this is very much, if this delivers what they're saying, this is legendary, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like a genre-defining game. Like,
we're talking a generational. This defines this generation.
This will redefine, in my opinion, this would like be redefining like open world, because this would be by far, if I'm not mistaken, this would be like the biggest just game ever, probably. Yes. I mean, not even just like the biggest RPG. This would just be all around just the biggest game ever. You thought, what was the other game that was like supposed to be like this kind of Sky?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, yeah. Like, I remember that was like, you know, I mean, I don't even know if No Man's Sky is as big as this. I honestly do not know.
No Man's Sky is, if you have, it's pretty massive. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I remember them saying like that's a massive game that would take you like months to beat or some shit. Yeah. So like, I don't know which one is bigger, but I mean, I imagine this also is like way more complex to No Man's Sky, because there's just so much. I mean, you're talking about planets that have like their own civilizations and like their own aliens, or like there's so much. I mean, also the amount of customization that they've shown in this game, between making your own character, with the expansiveness they put into that alone. You're talking about also like making your own spacecraft shift, right? And all that goes into that. Like, there's just so much to it. I mean, it's not just taking the fight on planets, you're taking the fight in the freaking space. There's actual like full-on dogfights in space. You know, it's just so big. Yep. It's so massive, to the point where like I know people are like very hyper, like super critical on it, and I'm just like, dude, like the way I just automatically, I guess, look at it is like they're just going for something that's like unheard of. You know, they're just going for a ginormous game that, like, honestly, I would imagine you're going to see the Bethesda jank and probably more. But I think this would be one of those games where like I have to like, you know, kind of like put a little bit of a blind eye to, because I'm just like, dude, they're going for something on a scope of like insanity. Like, it's just going to be so big. Like, I guess that's just how I look at it. So I'm excited, dude. I mean, I cannot wait. I mean, this is just one of those games where like I think I've seen enough already. Like I'm already down for it.
Yeah.
Like, I know what to expect. Like, I know I'm putting in with a normal Bethesda game like 1,000 hours. With this game, probably 10,000 hours. I don't know.
It could be that.
Like,
it's
crazy.
I had a coworker when I used to work in the store that I used to work in, giving lessons. And he had his original Skyrim file that he played just about every day, that he started when Skyrim came out. And that was 2020. And we were like, Mike, how are you still just playing the same file, like the same character? He's like, you know, he's an older dude. He's like in his early 50s. He's like, oh, you know, it's cool, man. Like, you know, I just get to go in and putt around and be my guy and live in that world. And I'm like, dude, power to you, man. Like, if you've got like 7,000 hours on one character in Skyrim, dude, like, right on. Like, he's like, yeah, you know, I go home and play like an hour or two every day and then hang out. And I was like, okay, man, like, that's cool. Like, and some people do that, right? And the other thing is, you know, they mentioned like there's backgrounds, there's character creator, you get your background, you get your specializations and all this cool stuff that's happening. Like, you can make your custom ships and like the number of ways you're going to be able to do that, right, is going to be just incredible, right?
Yeah.
And I love seeing that. I am super excited. Like I said, keep your eyes out when you see this video. Within the next few days, I'm going to do a full breakdown of the deep dive and talk about everything that they talked about in that. I may do it with someone else if anyone else is available, and we can talk about it and come up with some points. If not, I'll do it myself. But Starfield, biggest game that Xbox has had in years, without a doubt.
Yeah. And it would be big for them. Absolutely huge for them.
It's massive. If they land it and it is as good as it looks, that is the W that after 2 years of not having games come out, and the one game that did come out like AAA in the AAA space was fucking Redfall. This is the W that they need to go to give people that confidence. If Starfield comes out and it's really bad, I don't think it will be. I think if anything, it'll be like mid, right? It'll be middling and kind of like lukewarm. That's gonna be pretty disappointing. But there's still some other stuff that looks great, right? And if they keep this up, hopefully, even if Starfield isn't the greatest game ever, and hopefully go. But Starfield right now is looking incredible, right? It just looks incredible. Like even the gameplay and stuff that they showed today compared to last year, like that year did so much good for them. It's like literally you can tell they took all of their extra people from like Xbox, like corporate, and we're like, get on that game. We need that game to work. Like
everybody jumped on it.
There's rumors that they had id going over there to help with the gunplay. They had like the Xbox, hardware team over there to help optimize and all that. The one little thing that is a negative is if you're a console owner, you're going to be stuck at 30 FPS. PC Master Race. That's me and Lethal. We're going to be playing PC, and I don't care what I have to do to keep it at 60 FPS. That's what I'll do, right? I'm going to play at 60 FPS. But Starfield is just, I think everyone is hyped, right? There's a lot of people going, 30 FPS. It's like, well, you have a console, that sucks. Like, get a PC. Sorry. So after that was Jusant, I think is what it was called. Don't Nod, right? It looks like an exploration platformer. I really dug this art style. We talk about art styles. This reminded me of Planet of Lana, almost, right? Very bright, colorful, platformy. And if Lethal, if you haven't played Planet of Lana, 10 out of 10 recommend.
I haven't played it yet.
Absolutely. It's $20. I recommend it. If you're watching this video and you haven't played Planet of Lana, play that game. It's very good. It's not very long, but it's absolutely one of those ones that you'll play through a couple times, I think, right? Because one of the trophies is like flawless, right? And the first time you're never going to get flawless because it's like limbo. You're not going to see stuff coming and you're going to die, right? But you probably play it 2 or 3 times and get the flawless. It's not that difficult, but I will say it has one of the best scores in any game I've ever heard. And for a $20 game, I was just shocked. Like the score is brilliant and beautiful. And I'm a music guy, but just saw it back to that cute little alien worm bug thing riding in your backpack and on your shoulder. A lot of climbing. It's got that kind of third person platformy thing. It almost it kind of reminds me of the climbing in like Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, right? Or God of War, right? And a whole game based around that. I'm super down to check that out. That's coming out in fall. Do you have any thoughts on that, Lethal?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I mean, what's it called? Don't Nod. The only game I played from them was actually the first Life is Strange game.
Yeah.
So I loved that first Life is Strange game. It was so damn good. Mm-hmm. So I think my only thing I hope from this is that it has a really good story to it. I think that studio for me is like really good with narratives. So seeing them go, I guess for me again, I haven't seen the rest of their games. I don't think I played any. I mean, besides Life is Strange, whatever else they've done, I've not looked into. But for me, this is kind of exciting to see them, go to something a little bit different here, an exploration platformer. So it's got my interest. So it obviously got something to do with a little alien, and whoever the main character is, she's trekking on up a mountain to whatever civilization this is. Yeah. So I'm down. I'm excited. I don't know if this is like an ET story. Is she taking the alien back home? I don't know. So I think I'm down. I would love to know the story behind it. So I mean, yeah, is this a Game Pass game? I don't know.
It is day one Game Pass game.
It is.
It's coming out fall 2023, and this is an indie, right? And indies like if you haven't kept up on indies, right? Like indies are so good. Like,
of course,
I love in the last I would say probably 10 years, right? Before that, I didn't play indies too much. I'm going to be honest, but. Well, maybe a little early. Whenever Limbo came out, Limbo was like that and like Super Meat Boy, right? That era where like Xbox Arcade was a big thing. That was when I started like checking out like the smaller games, right? And going like, hey, like this is really cool. And now if I see an indie and it's like $10 and I go, that looks interesting, I'm gonna try it out, right? Like, because it's simply put, like some of the best little gaming experiences I've ever had. I've had with indies, like Planet of Lana was fantastic. Tunic, if you are out there and you haven't played Tunic and you like Zelda and you like Dark Souls, like play Tunic. That game is the shit. Yeah, this another indie. It's coming on Game Pass. Like there's no reason for you not to try it. And again, as an indie, if you try it and like it, it's probably gonna be $10 to $20. Buy it, right? Like Planet of Lana. I told you I canceled my Game Pass. I bought that game immediately because I was like, that looks very charming. I tried the demo and I loved it. I was like, I'm gonna buy this. So when it came out, I just bought it that day. This same thing. If you try it and like it, show that dev some love. Do not just rely on Game Pass, because as good as the deal is for them, it helps them even more if they can also sell the game, right? So don't forget that. Still Wakes the Deep was up after that, right? And Still Wakes the Deep was, I don't know, like it kind of, I don't know, it had like the survival horror vibe, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it straight up gave me just like thriller, right? Suspense.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't tell if there's anything killing you or not, so it might just be like a suspenseful thriller. But that's the vibe I got from it, like, you know, something like that. It looked cool. I mean, it looked interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked really good though too.
It looks like it's Unreal 5, right? It's got that Unreal 5 lighting, and it looks like the Unreal 5 physics. Yeah, I can't tell. I assume it's going to be like a horror. There's going to be like some kind of monstrous thing that's after you. But I mean, it looks like you're on an oil rig, right? Yeah, if you look at one of the very last shots, there's like something that runs across the screen while he's closing the door. Right, it's around the 45-second mark when he's closing.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. I did see that.
Yep. Yeah, there's going to be
that's going to freak me out.
There's going to be some kind of horror element. It says early 2024. But yeah, this is again another. It looks like probably a smaller game. But it looked fantastic. Now, here's one of the things that I really like is that they had a lot of variety in this show, right? Because right after this Still Wakes the Deep, they have this Dungeons of Hinterberg, and we mentioned this earlier. You didn't care for this too much.
No, I wasn't too big of like the fan of the art style. Yeah. I don't know. It just didn't grab me too much.
It's very,
but also just
Western
like the combat
cartoon,
and gameplay.
Right? It's very like Gumball, right? The weird show that kids watch. It's like very, very hard lines, right? A lot of colors that blend together, which some people really don't. It's just visually, it just doesn't do it for them. And I can see that. Me personally, I think this looks pretty cool. It looks like there's a lot of variety, right? You see her like running through streets and through pastures, going on like the people mover thing through the sky, going on the mine cart at one point. So for me, that's very cool. It's a skateboarding on a blade, journaling, and puzzles. Count me in. And like, I'm a puzzle game guy. That's why I love Zelda so much, right? So you got anything that's like action game with puzzles, and I'm there. So I'm at least going to check this out, right? But yeah, there's another small title. I think that's a day one Game Pass, right? Is that an Xbox title? I don't know if they say it. Oh, no, it looks like it is. It looks like, yeah. I was gonna say
Game Pass, yep.
So that's going to be another day one Game Pass title. Looks very cool. Then Phantom Liberty Cyberpunk 2077 expansion with the man, Idris Elba, and obviously returning Keanu Reeves. What do you think about this, Lethal?
Yeah, dude, this is one of those like this isn't new. Like we've already had like the whole thing of Phantom Liberty before. But just seeing more of it reminded me of the fact that like I forgot this was going to be a thing, to be honest with you. So it's good to have those reminders of like stuff that's coming out, because like I did forget about this. So I'm actually really excited that I got to see this, because something else that's coming out in September, which again, September is just going to be, I guess, one of those months that just has tons of stuff to play. This is definitely on there. We talked
about, I think we were talking in the chat we have the other day, right? Like September to October this year are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. Packed. There's just so much to play. So you're gonna
see a lot of videos on different stuff from us around then, because like I'm sure Lethal's gonna be on Starfield. And if you want to make any videos talking about that, you're more than welcome, Lethal, right? Like to talk about whatever you want. It's going to be the biggest game in the world. Doesn't matter what you say, right?
Right.
And then, like if I play, like, cause I was one of the fortunate ones that before they fixed Cyberpunk, I got it at Best Buy for like $4 for PS5.
Oh my God, you got lucky.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It's a PS4 version, right? But they give you the free update.
Yeah,
so
the free upgrade. Yeah.
So like it was like $4, and I was like, hey, I've heard this game runs like absolute shit, but they're supposed to fix it, and it's $4. And so I finally turned it on after they put out the patch, and I was like, that's $4 well spent. Like, very well spent. And this expansion, it looks fantastic. I'm a big Idris Elba fan, a big Keanu Reeves fan. Cyberpunk, they said they're updating like the whole game with it too, right?
Yeah, there was a lot that got updated with it. It was like some of the combat got updated, some of the AI, some of the like character models and stuff.
And yeah, the AI,
it looks like it's just gonna be so much better.
Yeah, the AI still needs work in that one. But hopefully with this is finally gives us the AI that they kind of promised initially. That would be great.
Yeah.
Now, with this, like, what's your most anticipated feature of this?
I mean, for me, straight up, it's going to be the story.
Okay.
I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for whatever the hell this is going to go down between like Idris Elba as his character, which I forgot who's he's playing exactly, but the character that Idris Elba is going to be playing and how that ties into whatever the hell the story is going to be. The fact that Johnny Silverhand
Silverhand,
I think it is. Yeah, the fact that he's back, so that means Keanu is back. Yep. I'm just excited, dude. I mean, the thing is, I was one of those people that played this game back on PS5 when it came out. Mm-hmm. So like my experience with it was like not the greatest, but it wasn't like as bad as bad as like anybody else that played it on like PS4 or whatever. So I actually was able to like play for the most part, but like I thoroughly enjoyed the game a lot actually. And like I've been itching to come back to it. So like this is going to be like good enough for me to want to come back and kind of just revisit this world, because especially after all the updates that I'm sure by now that I'm going to get into and be like, well, what a different experience from when I played it back at launch.
Yeah.
But easily it's going to be the story for me. I mean, whatever else that they add into it is just going to be hella bonus for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just excited. I mean, I mentioned to Bobby, like, I love Idris Elba. So I mean, I'm super excited to see like just what the story is going to be about. I mean, it looks really good. Whatever expansion they add to the maps, I'm just down for it, dude. Story, I'm down for that.
And it costs as much as a skin in Diablo 4. So like if you bought a Diablo 4 skin, don't complain about the price of Cyberpunk's expansion, because it looks like it's going to be well worth it.
Like, and if you held off on Cyberpunk, I mean, now's the time. Like this will be the time to just get into it. If you waited, just buy it. If you waited, now is the time to get into it, like, because you're just gonna have a way better experience.
Almost guarantee that, like, if you're on PC, Steam summer sales in like a couple weeks, buy it there, right? Because you're gonna have a better time on PC, especially if you have more recent hardware. You have 5000 series Ryzen or above, and the 3000 series, RTX card or above. You're gonna have a good time, right? Buy that, and then when the game comes out, you got like the full game plus expansion for the price of the original game, and you're good to go, right? Because I usually see it on sale on Steam for half off. It's usually $30, so I probably assumed I'll have it again for that price. But yeah, it's absolutely looking like it's going to deliver. Like Cyberpunk is such a great story when you look at it now, because you see just like, hey, I saw this when it came out. It ran like crap, and then just they've put out so many different updates and patches just to try and deliver what they promised. And now even with this thing, they're saying, hey, we're still doing big overhauls to things that people still think are issues. I think that's a great like show of faith, from CD Projekt Red.
I mean, I remember they had so much shit for this game when it launched, man. Remember, it was so bad for them. So
it was bad. I mean, it's not.
It was
not that
really
it was bad
bad.
for them. It was
I mean,
bad. Like they fucked up.
I mean, it was so bad that PlayStation offered refunds. They were the first ones, I think, to offer a refund.
And if you know
that's
anything
how
about
bad that
PlayStation,
was.
they don't do that. right?
Right. So like that's how you know like that was really bad at the time. But to be fair, like I think people who have finally given the game a shot, they have actually liked it. And it's one hell of a game. I mean, it's super it's again, it's CD Projekt Red, right? These are people behind like The Witcher and stuff. So
Yes.
it's a huge goddamn world.
Yeah.
And there's tons to do. Like the Night City, I can't remember, is it called Night City or Nightlife City or something like that?
City,
Night City, yeah, dude, it's so freaking sick. I mean, there's so much to do. The paths you take with your character, the enhancements you can make,
the outskirts, and like the deep city stuff.
Yeah,
like
dude, it's such a good time. So like this again, just to add to the same thing that I've said before, it's just that new story or whatever it's going to be about. I'm excited, dude. Take my character, bring back Johnny Silverhand. I love having Keanu in my ear. Like I'm down, bro. Like I'm in for this.
All right, so after that, they showed City Skylines 2. I'm not a sim guy, but I know some people who are.
Me neither.
One of my best friends he's probably like, did you hear about City Skylines 2? Right? Because he's always like, man, you got to play City Skylines. I'm like, dude, I'm not like a city planner sim guy. That's not my like, and he loves it. He just like makes these weird, wild cities at work. Like really, I'm like, dude, you can actually be a city planner. What are you doing? But he just loves City Skylines. He's told me to play it for years. So City Skylines 2, I am sure that he's thrilled. I'm not a huge like industrial building sim guy. But if you're hyped for this, it's coming out October 24th. And it looks good, right? It looks like an improved version of City Skyline. The look, just like how things look, there's a lot of cool effects that look like they are doing more seriously, right? It's like the shadowing and lighting is a lot better than the old games, and so keep that on your radar if you are a person with that. Did you have any thoughts on that, Lethal?
Nope, because I'm more excited for the next game.
Okay, we are going to talk about the next game, Metaphor. What is it, Refantasio?
I think so. Right? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Working on a new Japanese role-playing game called Metaphor Refantasio. Atlas's synopsis for the game, being developed by Studio Zero for PC, is and Xbox Series X. So I don't know, is that exclusive for them? Because that would be big. We talked about no, okay.
It's
see that's what I was like. Is that because that would be the win we were talking about? But they say, write your destiny and rise above fears. You step into a fantasy world unlike anything you've seen before, fraught with unsettling mystery. The kingdom stands on a precipice, and now you must embark on a journey, overcoming obstacles and forging bonds with friends. And I will say, this game looks like gorgeous. Like, woo.
I was just gonna say, like, you can tell it's obviously got like, you know, the cues, and not even the cues, but like just the visuals of like a lot of the visuals from like Persona 5 into this as well. But like they've taken it out of like the classroom, right? The school setting. And then for a second I was like, is this gonna be like a Shin Megami Tensei game? Like, because it has more of like that darker kind of like different look to it, whereas like the Persona is a little bit more lighter, but I mean it's dark all around. But this has more like a cool like fantasy kind of vibe to it. I mean, like they're in like the I don't know. There's a section where they look like on a boat or something, and they're like it's like a monster clawing through the sand or some shit. Like this looks so freaking sick, and it looks like it's a little bit of a nice like switch up from what we know from like the Shin Megami Tensei games, and then from the regular Persona games. So I think this is a brand new like original IP. I think
it is. Yeah.
I think it's a brand new original IP. And it's also from, if I'm not mistaken, the studio. It's called developed by Studio Zero. I think those are like the original creators of Persona 3, 4, and 5 that left and made their own studio. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
So it, like, you can obviously tell too, because it again has very heavy inspiration of like the combat of like 5, and you could just tell. So it just looks so good. Like it looks like, I don't want to say like a more like adultish like Persona game or whatever. I don't know. It has like a cool war fantasy vibe to it. That obviously makes it deviate from what you would expect. And it obviously has probably some of the monsters that you'd expect from the Persona games. I don't know. They don't really show too much of the monsters, but I'm just excited, dude. It looks so good. Very heavy anime vibes to it. I'm all around just like hyped as hell for this shit, dude. Yeah, it looks so good.
It really does look like it's taking like that Persona style and just cranking it up, right? And going like, hey, we're putting this out into a new world. It's like a big fantasy thing. There's big monsters, right? Like world-ending level monsters going on, like, and that to me that's super cool, right? You see a lot of the anime, like, like the energy beams around people as they're like powering up and stuff, and to me that looks super rad. For people who are fans of Persona, that's absolutely like another W, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if this one was on Game Pass day one, but
I don't think so. No.
let's see, play it on Xbox. No, so probably not Game Pass day
Yeah.
one, but it's still W for Microsoft getting the marketing rights again with Atlas. They're getting real buddy over there, and new Persona like IP. That's really important because like Final Fantasy, right? I feel like Final Fantasy is really strange in that it's like the only thing about that IP that really like repeats is the name, right? Every one of them, if
Yeah,
it's a numbered entry, it's actually really different.
I think there's some like background stuff, right? Like I don't know, it gets pretty deep to like where there might be some like small connections, but like again, that's for the hardcore fans that know about that stuff.
It's like
but
Kingdom Hearts.
some would argue, some would argue about stuff like that. So
deep stuff.
But no, this looks good. I mean, dude, a new IP coming from Sega Atlas. I mean. Keep them coming. That's all I gotta say. Keep them coming.
Say less if you're lethal.
Say less. I'm down.
So after this, we had Project Belfry, right, which has now become Towerborn. This looked kind of cool, right? The art style is very unique. Again, it's like almost like an anime or cel shaded art style. But it looks like a kind of a beat 'em up. I want to say like a side scrolly beat 'em up style, but like it might go to 2.5D. Like you might run up and down paths and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, Bobby. I forgot this was even a game here because this was one of those probably titles that like showed off, I guess, and I just completely forgot about it because there's just so many amazing
so much stuff
like other games
around it.
Yeah,
right?
this was one of those that I just completely forgot about, but it looks good. I'm looking back at it now, like it looks cool.
And I think that's an Xbox Studios one. So that'll be.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that'll be Game Pass for sure if it's Xbox Studios. It says coming in 2024. Check that out. There'll probably be a little bit of footage as it go, but it does kind of look cute, right? The backgrounds, right? Like the environments look really good. The map, like when they pull out the map, I'm like, okay, that's what I expect from like a fighter or side scroller. Like you go to the area, play through the level, area, right? But yeah, I mean, Towerborn, not much about it, but it looks okay. I think this is the last one, Clockwork Revolution, aka we have BioShock Infinite at home. What do you think?
Basically, no, I mean that's literally when I first watched it, I was like, "This is a new BioShock game." But then I remembered like we had was it the Judas game that got shown off? I don't remember where that was. At the Game Awards? I think that was at the Game Awards.
Game Awards last year. Yep.
Yeah, so I was like, no, it can't be that because I think that was the studio that made like the BioShock games. They made that one. So I was like, this looks like straight up like as if it was out of the world of BioShock, specifically Infinite. So I remember Infinite was more like in the sky and it had like the cool like very industrialist kind of like vibe to it. So this looked like it fits in the world of BioShock, dude. And I'm already a sucker for like the weapons. Like it has like that cool like I don't even know if it's like vintage. I don't even know what you call that. Just the style of it is just so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's like the steampunk, right? Where it's
that's what it is.
Very industrial revolution like themed, right? Everything's based off of steam engines and coal and shit.
So cool.
Like turn of the 20th century, that kind of thing. And yeah, it looks really good. What this reminds me of is it's like if you took BioShock Infinite and Atomic Heart and combine them together. I think part of it is right. A lot of people are gonna like there's no way they get around every single person who's played BioShock Infinite going like this is just BioShock Infinite. And that's unfortunate because like BioShock Infinite is really good. I still love it. I played that like a year ago and I was like, man, this game's great. It doesn't help that like it has guns and then it has powers like BioShock. Like if they didn't do that, then maybe they could have got at it. But then, like, in the trailer it says change the past, and just like BioShock Infinite, you go and change the past, and then it's like super dystopian, dark future, right? So like, there's a lot of parallels that are going to be drawn here, and I feel like that's going to be the big thing for Clockwork Revolution to have to overcome. Is just like, how are you going to convince people this isn't just BioShock Infinite, like a decade later?
Yeah, or me, I'm down because it looks like it's BioShock. So
that's
the opposite
true. Like,
too.
and it's I think it's an Xbox, right? In Exile is an Xbox studio, right?
Yep, another Xbox game studio.
Then, again, Game Pass. Like, I absolutely do it at Game Pass, right? But again, like, like if you show me your game's good, I'll buy it. Like, I bought Quantum Break not too long ago, and I bought Planet of Love.
Oh, that was a good game.
Yeah, so like, I don't mind. Like, if I try a game and I dig it, like, I do not at all mind just buying the game, right? Because that's how I support a studio, right? I don't feel like a studio gets my full support if I just play their game on Game Pass. I'm sorry. Everyone can say what they want. You're supporting the studio if you play it. No, that's not really supporting the studio, in my opinion. Like, I'm going to buy their game because I'm going, hey, I appreciate the work that you did. Here's my 20, 30, 60, 70, right? And there's some studios that are just so good that I don't even have to think about it. I'm going to buy their game, right? Like, Naughty Dog goes, hey, new single player game. I go, cool, pre-ordered already. Awesome. So for some people, it might be like Ninja Theory. They go like, oh, Ninja Theory, like Hellblade, it's got a release date. Yeah, pre-ordered, right? For something like Game Pass that I'm not sure about, like Clockwork Revolution, I'll absolutely try it. And if I get like quarter way through, a third of the way through it, I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm just buying it,
Right.
And then the last real announcement was there's a new Series S with 1 terabyte drive, so you can play.
So we all wanted
play your games in 1080 at 60 FPS with 1 terabyte of space. I will say this, right? 1 terabyte of space for an extra $50. Getting that 512, that is way cheaper than any of the memory cards that they sell. Even with the new Western Digital ones, which personally, Western Digital, like, sketchy the last several years, at least in my opinion. I've had a few and they've broken, and my mother brought one that broke. Like, I used to only use Western Digital, but the last few years have not been super reliable, at least in my experience. The carbon black looks cool. I'll say that, right? It looks better than the white one. But the Series S, again, is just profoundly underwhelming as a console. Like, it's not going to keep up at the end of the day. Like, if you buy this now, right? If you buy the Series S now, right? I put out on Twitter yesterday, I was like, you know what? Like, if this Xbox showcase absolutely blows my socks off, like, I'll buy the potato. I'll buy the Series S, right? It didn't, and we're gonna talk about that in just a second, but like, would I buy like a brand new one if it was the only thing I had? No. Like, especially I would just pay $50 for a PS4 or PS5, excuse me. Like, 50 extra bucks get you a PS5, and PlayStation Plus Extra is cheaper. And yeah, you don't get day one games, but like, you get a whole ton of games and it's cheaper, right? And every once in a while you get a demo like Stray or Chia, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you get some, yeah. I mean, not as frequent, but yeah.
Yeah, but like to me, that is exponentially a better deal. You get a 1 terabyte drive in your PS5, you get Sony's games, you get and you get a console that's like made to be a real next gen console as opposed to the Series S, which has a number of devs in the last few years have come out and been like, it's not powerful enough. We've talked about that on this channel. A lot of people get upset when I say that, but I'm like, it's nothing personal. It's just like, you're buying a budget console and expecting it to perform like one of the big kid toys, right? It's like you buy a little tricycle and you expect it to ride like a BMX. It's just not going to happen. That's just the way things work. And it's like, you want to feel good about the fact that you purchased this because you get to play the new games still, but they're not going to run as good. They're going to look worse, right? And eventually, I feel like probably within the next 2 years, Xbox is just going to be like, yeah, we're going to have to stop making for the Series S. Sorry, we just can't keep it going. with the demands of, how games work now. That being said, Lethal, what are your full thoughts? Like what, letter grade me here, man.
Honestly, for me personally, this provided me with Fable, which is what I really wanted to see.
Yes.
On top of that, this, gave me a bunch of updates on games that, I was excited to see. I mean, but not even updates, I think I would say it gave me more updates on the studios, right? I think that was my biggest critique last time, was like, what are the updates on a lot of these studios that they're working on? Like, what can we see? I think that was like one of my biggest critiques from like the last time we talked about it, because I would say the last like 2-3 years we've been pretty harsh on most of these Xbox showcases, because they were usually like underwhelming for the most part, at least for us.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said in the beginning of this video, my bar was set incredibly low. Yeah. So, and for them to show Fable was like, oh my God, like already like good. This is a good, decent showcase. Yeah. But I felt like, personally, they really finally showed off what a lot of the studios were working on. And a lot of those games that they showed, like South of Midnight, what was the other one? The one at the end, the Clockwork Revolution, like from some of their studios, I was like, dude, these look really good, and I'm actually really interested in them. And I know another critique of mine also from the past showcases was where are their partnerships at, right? I used to say like, PlayStation nabs these really good third-party partnerships. Like, where are their partnerships? And I have to say, dude, them getting what's it called? A lot of these Sega Atlas kind of partnerships, a lot of these marketing deals, and them showing them off here at this showcase was like a really good showing, in my opinion. That was a really good way to show some of those like Japanese RPGs. Yeah. I mean, they somehow also nabbed the the Star Wars game from Ubisoft. So that's the other pretty big cool get to kind of show off. Yep. In my opinion, like this showcase, it delivered on a lot of what I wanted them to do. And so like for that, I felt like I walked away out of it like really like content, really happy. I actually really liked it a lot. I think it was, in my opinion, better than the PlayStation showcase. Yeah, I think I walked away honestly saying like this was a really good showcase for Xbox, and for me this is like an A. Okay, like this was, I just thought it was an A in my opinion for what I'd expect from an Xbox showcase to deliver. This is easily by far the like best showcase for them in, like we said, so freaking long. Yeah, they did good. Like the pacing. Sorry, just like to add in too, like. I don't know, like I watched this and I didn't get a moment where I like looked at my phone and got pretty bored from the announcements. Like a lot of the announcements that they had were really freaking sick, dude. It was rarely like maybe 1 or 2 games I just didn't really jive with, but the rest for the most part I was hooked, and the pacing was good. And I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the A. I think A is pretty justifiable for what I thought they showed.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, man. I mean, it's all subjective, right? Like that's what it's all about. And I agree with you. Like I love that they're trying to really make moves, right? Because like it's felt like Xbox has just been like, let's throw some money at it. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, what else are we gonna do now? We don't know, right? Like that's what it's felt like for like a decade, man. It's just like, it's like, look, like I've been very adamant, like I won't after the 360 and the Red Ring of Death, like I don't want to buy their hardware. And I said like if you give me something good enough tomorrow, I'll go out and buy a Series S, right? Because I have a PC already. It'd be like, hey, this is like, put it in the loft and play something in there, right? Put it in the other room. For me, I gotta say, this showcase had the exact same problem that Sony's did, in that there's a lot of first party, but there wasn't enough gameplay. And that was like the big thing that like just I was like, there's not gameplay. Like, and I get it, like Fable, we know that's probably gonna be out, doesn't even have a release window, but like now we know that they're still, chipping away at it, right? But like other stuff, right? Like we saw for Starfield, but like we still haven't seen anything for Hellblade, right? I mentioned that. But yeah, we saw like, I mean, even Flight Sim, like it's like, yeah, there's gameplay, but it all looked like that pre-rendered stuff, right? Like very shot for shot. But yeah, the first party thing not having gameplay, same exact thing as Sony Showcase. And that was my complaint with Sony Showcase. It's like, it was fine, but like your first party doesn't have gameplay. And people are gonna be like, well, Starfield. And I'll go, well, Spider-Man, right? It's the same thing. Yeah, there's a big showstopper, big deep dive at the end. But like at the end of the day, it's basically the same thing, right? There just wasn't, from their first party, while there were announcements, there wasn't enough like, hey, we're going to show you what's going on. And I feel like it's for different reasons. I feel like for Sony, they're a little too comfortable, right? they're sitting there going like, we don't have to show anything. Like we're Sony. We have no competition right now in the higher end gaming market, right? Xbox has been like, well, we're trying to act small after, we're trying to buy Activision. So we're trying to make sure people think that we're not a giant corporation that's bought like 25 studios in the past 5 years. So they were like been kind of underwhelming the last few years. And I think after Redfall and like not having things for 18 months and then putting out Redfall for $70, they're like, we messed up. We got to bring it. And they did. But at the same time, we also know that they've had problems with like creative directors leaving. We've heard the rumors about Fable being in trouble, right? A number of times, right? Just like we heard the rumors about Redfall. We've heard the rumors about other stuff. Not like we didn't see Everwild, and we heard Avowed had problems for a while. So if Avowed is finally getting, like its release window, right? I don't remember if it has a date, but it has a release window, I think now. So we're seeing that. But for me, I would give the same grade I gave Sony's for basically the same reason. Like you showed a bunch of stuff. Forza, like we knew Forza, we know you already showed it at the thing like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Like, why'd you even show that again? Then there was their live service stuff, right? Like Sea of Thieves but I would say B plus, right? Which is for Xbox is really good. I want to like put that out because like for my last few Xbox things that I've seen, I would say like into C and D range. Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's notorious. We've been so like crucial. We've been so harsh on them.
Yeah. And like, I'm the first person, and I've said it the entire time. And a lot of people go like, oh, you just hate them. I'm like, no. I hate Xbox hardware, but I absolutely want them to make games because more good games is better for everybody who's a gamer. Like, I want more games to play. Right. And am I going to play like everything day one? No. Star Wars? Yes. Right? Fable? Yes. Starfield? Yes. Avowed? Probably. Right? Am I gonna play Hellblade day one? I probably will. But like Forza, maybe I check it out, maybe. Right? Or like some of these other little indies and stuff, like I'll definitely get to them at some point. And I think that like Xbox had just such a strong showing that it makes me really happy. Right. That's why I have the green light. I always like talking about, I will change my light to be a green light the second Xbox has done something to show me that they care and show me that they're putting the work in. And I have the green light. Right. Because like here I go, like, look, they brought it today. Right. Was it perfect? Far from it. Right. We need more first party, like actual gameplay. Like some of these games have been in limbo for a long time. I get it. But like, hopefully we can see something coming up here and get some more concrete windows. But they absolutely showed off a lot of great stuff. And I'm hoping that they can continue on this. And I'm hoping now that Sony also goes, oh shit, we gotta like do stuff now.
Right.
Because that's something that Sony, I mean, especially after Sony's last thing, I think that Sony needs kind of a kick in the ass. Right.
And to add to that too, with the whole Sony thing, I think another thing too, where I was like a little bit unhappy with the PlayStation showcase was that like they were finally like showing off like their games as a service titles, and it kind of got to that point where I was like, oh no, like I miss seeing updates from like their their single player, like their studios that are known for their single player titles, right? Like where was Naughty Dog, right? Where was like if Sony Santa Monica had something else to show, I think I was also hoping to see for like PlayStation Showcase, Sucker Punch, right? Like, was Ghost of Tsushima 2 going to get shown off? And I look back at like this showcase now, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I think the reason why I think I love this so much is because like I love Fable, right? And that's for me, like that was a big solo adventure game, right? That Star Wars game, it's going to be an epic like solo adventure, right?
Yeah.
Avowed will be the same thing. Like South of Midnight, probably the same thing. Like these are a lot of these have like that single player, like just really cool feels to them. Where like I realized like, hey, none of these are really like for once like there wasn't anything here that wasn't like Halo or Gears. Like these are a lot of really cool looking single player adventures where I'm like, oh shit, like I'm actually really excited for a lot of these games. And I realized maybe it's just me as someone who's like not the biggest multiplayer person, but like I think I realized like I kind of missed that from the PlayStation side where I'm like, damn, I think I don't know, it's gonna come down to preference, right? What you want to see.
Exactly.
But like, I definitely can say that like I look back at that PlayStation Showcase and think, yeah, like them showing off a lot of those like games as a service titles, right? I'm just like, oh, I don't really want to see that. Like I realize I don't care for like the multiplayer stuff as much. Like I really care for the stories and those just single player adventures and those RPGs and stuff like that. So
and that's the thing is like there's really two types of gamers out there, right? And funny enough, like I feel like the more casual gamers are the ones who play the multiplayers, who play like Destiny, who play Call of Duty, who play Battlefield like every day. They log in, maybe play an hour, get like a rank on their battle pass or whatever. And then they're out. Whereas, we're like the core gamers from, way back when, where we want we expect this medium that we've seen develop over 35, 40 years. Yeah. Continue to develop and continue to bring us those high production stories that we've fallen in love with, right? Like I feel like, Last of Us came out in 2013 and there was some great story stuff before that, but that absolutely changed the game, right? That like raised the bar so much, right? Just like Skyrim raised the bar on open world, right? These games have to keep doing that because like core gamers like you and me, we want like Fable and we want Starfield, right? And Star Wars, like that's what we want. And Sony, I think, has mastered that, and now they're dipping their toes into the really scary side because, like, if a live service fails, it's expensive, and it's just a lot of wasted time. And like so it's going to be shaky for them. I really think it is. Yeah. Fortunately, they do have the track record of hey, they know how to make single player. They know how to make good, things. So, yeah. It is kind of what it is in terms of what both companies are offering. They're offering what they're offering. Either way, it's an exciting time to be a gamer, right? Like PlayStation, tons to play. PlayStation, we know is going to have some stuff. I mean, we've heard the rumors that like, hey, they have stuff that for whatever reason they're not announcing. I still think that has to do with the Activision thing. And Xbox now finally was like, hey, here's some stuff, like, and come out with a good showing. Like, that's really awesome to see. So, like, if you're on one side or the other, or if you're like me and Letha and you play like on PC and PlayStation, and you've got access to everything, you're eating good this next few years, right? Like,
100%. If you're just to add in as like a final thing, but like, if you're in the whole console warring business and you're refusing to buy another console for whatever freaking reason, like you're doing yourself such a disservice. Like there's great games all around coming out. So like don't limit yourself, dude. It's exciting. It's so exciting to see like both of them go at it, especially Xbox or rise up like this, like what Bobby was saying. I'm so excited to see PlayStation next showcase have to just go ham now, and that's what I want to see.
Well, yeah,
that's the greatest thing about like competition is just like you see your competitor have a really good showing. Social media is going off the charts. People are excited. People are happy. People are not coming back at PlayStation like, yo, where the hell was all that at? Like, it's exciting because like that's just why you need to have competition, So that's a good thing. I'm excited now. I'm really excited for the next PlayStation Showcase for their next event because I have a good feeling that like they're gonna be like, okay, you know what? We people love, obviously, we were showing off our games as service titles. That's great. We really just gave them CG. That means that stuff has to be worked on, obviously, a lot more. It's time to, show off some of these single player stuff that we've been working on, giving my Wolverine and stuff. So I'm excited, dude. Yes. This was a great showcase, and I'm so glad that this happened because now it's going to kick up the competition, and I want to see that.
Same. That's exactly what I was talking about. Like we need that competition. Like as much as I've said time and time again, I'm not buying an Xbox, like the hardware. Like I want Microsoft making good games because that forces Sony to make good games. Like they have to make good games if Microsoft is making good games. Like, and they have to push them to be better, right? That's all we need. We just need these two companies like pushing at each other, going, "Hey, well, look what I made! Oh, well, look what I made!" And then we as gamers are just like, "Yes, give it to me!" Like, right? So that's what we need. And that's the whole Xbox like let us compete thing. It's like you guys could have competed. Like I don't know where this has been the last few years, but this is what you needed, and I'm so happy to see it. But if you watched this and made it all the way through somehow. Let us know down in the comments what you think. This was a great showing for Xbox, and they are starting they're going to be starting 2024 on a really strong footing. I do want to thank you, Lethal, for your time, man. This is a long conversation, but I'm glad we had it because I'm super stoked about what we saw today. And I think it means nothing but good things for Xbox and for, the competition, like we said. But yeah, guys, let us know down in the comments below. If you made it this far, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more. And you can hit that notification bell to keep up to date on everything we do here on 59 Gaming Direct. I'm LittleBobby here with Lethal One Up. You want to say anything, Lethal?
Game Pass is going to become worth it, like really, really good, worth it in the next year. So you're about to see your money's worth, I think, very soon.
Yes, and yeah, I agree with that. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching today. Y'all have a great day, and we hope to see you soon.